Good afternoon, everyone. I hope we're enjoying ourselves. All right, so who here had heard about the movie Hidden Figures? Hidden Figures. All right, good. So this should be about 6 or 7 years ago, 2016. We want to really look at how can we use communication as a tool for digital inclusion. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining me for this wonderful discussion.
People need you to virtually let them understand why we should move from one level of payment. It's easy for me to have somebody come to my house and say, we have taken your bola, so pay this. But now we are saying that, no, you have to do it per a certain, we have to give the education behind it. So there's a lot of community engagement going on. And so these are some of the few things we do to, some of the initiatives we put in place to push our digital, innovations.
Thank you very much. Speaking of payment, so right beside you is a lady who is helping with Femitech. I will want you to talk about some of the challenges that you face when it comes to digital inclusion, and especially in Femitech, and what you're doing to address them. I will also want you to touch a bit on, usually we speak about people in Accra. So when we are looking at the rural areas or the areas that are underdeveloped, as we call them, what are some of the challenges and how can we address them? If you have some examples, let us know.
Thank you, Joy. Good afternoon, everyone. Now, she just put me on the spot. So I'll just tell this story. I asked my mom to get a mobile money wallet, and I believe all of us have mobile money wallets. And then she goes to get the wallet, and then she calls me, Mommy, me wallet no, me number ni. Then she tells me her mobile money code. And then I'm like, Ma, you don't tell people that code. Like, you don't tell people that. And who even gave you the code? He says, oh, boy now, or yeah, momo mom. The guy who registered the mobile money number for me, he was the one who came up with the code. So then the first, she's just put her whole mobile money experience at risk because your code is your weapon. I mean, your PIN or your password is your weapon. When Prof spoke about Kwame AI, one of the things that came to mind, who knows about Kwame AI? And we're all like, because what I've known being in the fintech space and championing communication is that we always put technology ahead of communication. And when you do that, you have a big challenge because then there is a huge gap. People don't understand the technology. People don't use technology because they think it's good for them. We all agree that the benefits of technology is really intangible. You can't, you can talk about it, but if you talk about cash, physical cash, seeing the money, I can hold it, I can feel it. If you say electronic payments, it looks so far. So to get people to really understand that the technology is good, the technology would help them, we need to make them a part of the whole technology experience. And then when we are done, we use communication. Because I am part of the process, because I know how it would benefit me, because you understood my unique needs, and based on that, you are using communication tools and channels that will get me to understand that the solution would help me. For the fintech space, one of the best campaigns that we've seen, all-time best, Mensaka. I mean, when they started that campaign, it looked like a joke, but you see the imagery, the elements of the communication, the woman, the young boy, the man from Accra, which was one of the biggest challenges. We're all looking at remittance. If I need to send money from Accra to my mom in the village, I need to give it to a relative who was going there. So to address that, they come up with a campaign with someone in Accra who is working. Mommy is in the village. Minsaka, Nasika, where is the money? The money is on my phone. The next phase of the campaign, we see the woman go to an agent. And through that process, we've been able to get mobile money here. And because we started the communication with the remittance parts, now we are struggling to get people to move beyond remittance. So mobile money is consistently now cash in, cash out. I get the money, And then you can see the industry is gradually moving from that phase of remittance to trying to get people to understand that beyond remittance, you can make payments with mobile money. So you've seen that the face of the communication is changing. We are promoting Momo Pay. We are telling you can buy airtime, you can buy data. So that's the thing. When Doc spoke about Kwame, I said I need to speak to Kwame AI, the developers of Kwame AI. They need a strategic communications approach to get people to understand what they are doing. We tell stories. Doc has a beautiful foundation, has a foundation that is championing. How do we use storytelling to get people to know what she's doing in that space? How lives are being impacted. So for me, Joy, as we leave here, I just want the tech people in the room to know that, we have to move beyond STEM and actively pursue the STEAM, like we mentioned. We need to make art an integral part of the process so that we don't just develop the solutions and then we are struggling to build the digital literacy skills. If I don't understand the solution, I can't use it. You're talking to me about mobile money and you're only using radio, TV. Meanwhile, I'm in the village. What happened to our indigenous communication approaches? The story where we have debes, where we have, even now, there are community and local radio stations. Speak to me in a language that I understand so that I can properly assimilate the benefits of technology and then use it for my personal benefits.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's a reason why it is called Mother Thang, right? Because it's a woman, really, that teaches that child. And I think that it may be the reason why, as communicators, or when you come to women in PR or the PR industry, you have a lot of women who are there because we really understand how to use language to change the mindset of a whole nation and a whole world. Now, Ivy, you are an educator, and what are the trends really when it comes to communication, and what innovations are coming up that we can use to inspire inclusion?
Thank you, Joy. It's such an honor to be here today. Good afternoon, everyone. From the perspective of someone who sits in academia, the opportunities that I see on a daily basis are mind-blowing. We've got a faculty of information technology and communication studies, and it's just as well that those two departments are under one faculty, and there's so many amazing things that they're doing together. I'll give you an example. When COVID struck, UPSA had already developed a learning management system. That's technology, okay? And for about a year from the time that it was developed, management took it upon itself to educate every member of staff on the nuances and the importance of understanding the way and the functionality that LMS works. So nobody expected COVID was coming. COVID didn't call and say, hey, prepare, pick me up at the airport, I'm arriving. But we just woke up one day and there was an announcement on a Thursday. I remember so well that cases of COVID had been reported in Ghana. The next thing that we did as an institution was shut the university down the next day. We migrated teaching and learning onto the LMS by Monday. There was no disruption whatsoever. And that's because we were prepared. It's communication that was used to prepare us. If there had not been communication, active internal communication about the LMS, the faculty, the IST department, the information management department did a fantastic job. And all those things are some of the reasons why we can never underestimate the power of technology, the importance that communication plays in leveraging the power of technology, how we can harness communication, in order to be able to promote and propagate the benefits and the importance of giving people the knowledge and the power to be able to use technology. The trends are immense. We use all kinds of tools, from social media engagements, for our internal communication. We use the traditional methods. But I was really fascinated by Yas' mention of the traditional methods. I always ask myself that back in the day, we knew how the Information Services Department used to go around with the vans, communicating in the local dialects and sharing. I don't know, perhaps because I don't live in the rural areas, I'm not sure what goes on, but I know that social media, for example, has taken over. But then again, like engineer Dr. Japon said while she was speaking, it's one thing to have access. It's one thing for the technology to be available. But if you do not understand how to use it and how to benefit from it, and I remembered Professor Kaufman also speaking about her sister's young lady who depended on her daughter. I've got a similar situation in my house. My housekeeper, amazing young woman, has a smartphone, cannot type a text message to send. So if she's calling and you say, I can't talk right now, send me a message, it's going to be a voice note because she cannot write. So education is so important, and it really needs to start from inside. Imagine if an educational institution was not leveraging technology, if an educational institution was not empowering. So we need to pay attention to all the avenues and channels of communication available to us, not just focus on what's trendy at the moment and think that because we're at a certain intellectual level, what we can do is what others can also do. So we really need to go back to the basics and dig deep down and identify the channels that are going to be relevant to whatever audience that we're communicating with, to ensure that we're truly and genuinely empowering these people.
So, Sophia, I'm back to you, and this is really specific. Given the environment where you are, where you work with government, and you're a private organization as well, and in your past portfolio, you've held a very key role. So I want to ask, how can government partner with the private sector and also communities to ensure that we are inspiring inclusion using communication? And if you have any example to share, that would be wonderful.
Thank you very much. So let me say that when it comes to communication and digitization or digital inclusion, two things come to mind. One, relevance. Relevance. Two, is value. What value is this bringing to us? And for government and private sector and all, when it comes to deploying digitization for national benefit or community benefit, it is important for us to look at it from the dimensional angle, where government takes into consideration who is going to use this. How do we make the environment enabling for those who have what it takes to build what is needed? So let me give you a typical example of a gentleman. Now they are all over the place. So we spoke about Kwame AI, right? There is another, platform called Iseko. I don't know how many of us have heard of Iseko. It's for agric. They are in the rural areas using agric, using the platform to get farmers who are using YAM phones to be able to get information to do their work better. And I think this is where it all comes to. And I think you spoke about using the mother tongue. Yeah. It is important that when we are developing some of these things, we are quite sensitive to the language so that people understand. That is why I love Iseko. And then you want to look at the cultural sensitivity of the communities you're dealing with. Because at the end of the day, what is the point in developing something that people cannot use? Earlier on I was telling Ivy that, can you remember the days when we used to have the thermometer, or is it thermometer they call it, or thermostat? They put it in your mouth. After that, they do this. And then it went into our armpit. Now they just put it to your forehead. I'm sure that's what Prof spoke about that there's a lady that is developing something that is on your hand, like a wristband, and the doctor can easily, that is relevance, that is value. And so I think that it is important that government will have to put in more, because most of the people that spoke about the barriers, one thing that came out clearly is access. Access. Funding is what is needed to make the access greater for everybody. So government should give people the opportunity. Whenever there are funds for some of these things, I don't think we should leave it at the governmental level alone. They should call in private sector people who are developing things. And thank you for mentioning the thing. I think that was 2 weeks ago that I was on another platform and we were talking about bridging research and industry. There's so much going on in our universities, and yet we sit here and all we talk about is Facebook. Why? Because our academia are sticking to themselves. That is another community that government can take advantage of and say that, look, we want to deploy this. What can the universities give us? And put our young ones together, and I can tell you that we have some sharp, intelligent young men and women out there who are doing great things. So if we come up with the idea, we give them the opportunity to develop things based on our cultural sensitivities, using languages that we would understand. Then we can get the best out of it. So we have to look at it from that multi-dimensional level so that it can be of benefit to everybody that we want to use it. Thank you.
If we have a young lady here who want to become a professional PR person or communicator, and they are into tech, what advice will you give them? So this question is to you, Eunice. And then to Ivy, what steps should they take to ensure that they become that woman who is including and inspiring inclusion in technology?
Because I'm a PR practitioner, I'll say you'd have to get some professional certification to understand, the basics and the fundamentals of communication or public relations. Because you're already in technology, you have that experience and knowledge in technology. So you have the technical know-how. Now you need the educational bits so that when you have to communicate or even talk about a technology, you put into perspective the different elements of communication that would help whatever information you are putting out to be effective. So you look at the people you are talking to, or when you are in a room and they are designing a technology, you ask questions that are relevant. Who are we giving this solution to? How is it going to benefit them? Who are they? What do they do? What do they like? How are we going to, when comms is part of technology solution, those are the questions we ask. Often, the developers are way ahead of themselves. Engineers said it's like, there is a square box we have to fit in. So they are busy thinking about how to design all that solution and make it perfect. You are looking at, okay, the experience, even the technology, the interface. Where are we putting the solution? Is it going to be an app? How should the app look like? Who is the app for? Is it for women? You are using colors that will not appeal to us. Yeah, all over black, maybe won't appeal to us. So you'll be able to ask all the relevant questions and help your team develop a solution that is ready for the market. And then when it comes to the education bit, because you have the experience or the training in public relations, you can be able to marry the two. And so, yes, your tech education is very important, but once you are done, I think you should get the training. It could be a certificate in PR so that you get the theories, because communication is a science. You can have the act. The act is when we sit here and then we are all, speaking in the language, you admire how we are speaking. But the science of it is where you are combining the different elements, the emotions, the impact, and all the other things that you seek to achieve when you communicate. So get a degree, and then you can also join Women in PR for continuous professional development purposes. Okay, thank you.
Totally agree with that. And another very important thing that we need to do, and I'll go straight to your question, Joyce. I have always said that as women, we tend to talk quite a lot. It's important to talk. It's important to celebrate and commemorate occasions like this. It's important to, draw up the frameworks and everything. But the implementation of it becomes a challenge. And that often breaks my heart. And so to the young lady who wants to know what they can do to foster inclusivity, the first thing I would say to you is continue to add value to yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot teach people or inspire people on things that you yourself do not have strengths in. So add value to yourself. And when you have added enough value to yourself, of course, you're not stopping. But as you seek to drive inclusivity, do a lot more of the action than the talking. I say that if women are not sitting in the right rooms, at the right tables, and in the right capacities, there's not much we can achieve in building each other up. So make sure that you spend less time talking about the things that we can do and the ways in which we can do them, and actually do those things and ensure that you're rising. I think one of the most important things we can do as women is to hold each other's hands and make sure that people are actively rising. And the more we do that, the more we build ourselves up and build other people up and spend less time doing the talking, we would be able to not only drive inclusivity, but to make sure that the majority of women are also doing the same. And so that's the key advice, without talking much, that I'd give the young woman. Build yourself up and build other people up. Do a lot more of the action and less of the talk.
Can I just add that when it comes to learning, can our young girls stop doing Snapchatting and showing off their faces and use the same platform to learn? Because there's so much on social media that you can take advantage of to learn and make yourself better.
I want to ask your final words. If there's someone here that you want them to take a message today, what would that message be? We'll start from Ivy.
I'm going to talk about the importance of communication and how we cannot underestimate it. For a lot of us, STEM means the basic definition that we know it to be. For a lot more people also, there's a certain myth shrouded around it. This morning, as I sat in the audience and I watched Engineer break down what STEM is, when she so effectively and efficiently communicated what science is, it reinforced my love for communication. And I said to myself that listening to her, and every time I've listened to Professor Kaufman as well, I have felt like going back to secondary school Form 1 to learn math all over again. The reason why I was so scared of math is because the teacher who taught me, 1, did not have the patience, and 2, did not communicate effectively to me. And so I spent the majority of my formative years thinking of math as something that's beyond the clouds that I cannot see, that I cannot understand. In fact, at a point I gave up. So I literally just went through it as an automaton. I don't even know how I managed to pass my O-level math, but yes, I wrote the storms and somehow got the barest minimum and disposed of it as quickly as I could. Communication is key, and I think that we should leverage it. We can have all the technologies available. We can have all the tools available. The skills may be accessible, but if we are not communicating effectively and efficiently, we would always have gaps. And so yes, let's push the sciences, let's push inclusivity, but let's leverage and harness communication to get the best results. Thank you.
Just to add to what Ivy just said, I am in the financial technology space. And often, like I in my opening remarks, I went like technology is always put ahead of communication. If we want to develop people's digital skills, we need to be patient enough to teach them to understand what it means and the benefits to them. We need to be able to localize our communications. We are in Accra, and we are fortunate to be having access to the tools on the channels. We understand social media. How about the people in the rural communities? Having access and using social media, it goes way beyond that. There are lots of threats associated with even using technology, cyberbullying, and other things. How are we using communication to break down these things so that if my mother picks a phone and goes on TikTok and does a video and posts it on TikTok, she thinks she's just having fun, but that's her whole life she's put out there. How are we leveraging technology to help people understand fraud? You know, a lot of the mobile money fraud we record today is not because the technology is failing. It's usually socially engineered. Someone just tricks you and then give your PIN. How are we using communication to let people know your PIN is your weapon? Why is it my weapon? So that when you tell me that, I understand the need for me to keep those things personal to me. So let's ride on communication. We are not your enemies, we are friends. So when you are developing the solutions, just as you cannot do without your accountant, your HR managers, you should think of your communication professionals as well. We play a very critical role, and especially in this time. If we want to achieve digital literacy skills, we cannot do that without.
As I said earlier, it's about relevance and value. And when you were talking, you spoke about localizing it. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, we have made technology to sound so big, so abstract, so, humongous. But can we break it down? Can we break down the science? Can we use communication to break it down and let everybody know that there is so much inclusivity going on, especially in terms of the fact that we are all using phones, one way or the other. We are all using our phones to transact business. Back in the days, as she said, it was all about remittances. Now, everybody, you go to the market, you pick the kaya, she has a phone. There is something going on. Can we encourage ourselves to know that, look, there is so much we can do with the little that you think you have. That one phone can do so much for you, and so can we leverage on that communication? When they say technology, even the YAM phone you are holding is part of technology. Can we break down the science for everybody to appreciate and know that we are already in it, but we can do it better? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And to conclude, I want to say that we all know about the Spider-Man story, right? From the big media or from the West. And then we also know in Ghana about the Anansi story, isn't it? But why is the Anansi story not catching up? Because we are not telling the story. And these stories will be told by communicators as us. For you in the tech space, maybe this is a time for you to turn the Anansi story into something that the world will understand. However, you will need a communicator to tell the story. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. And thank you, ladies, for doing this with me. Thank you.